Hello and welcome back to the preview show. It is Omloop het Nieuwsblad, and I am delighted to be joined by Matteo Jorgenson, the new Oman champion. Matteo, how are you?
I'm very good, David. Very good. Thank you for the introduction.
Oh, no. There's got to be more. There's got to be more. So you are fresh from not only winning your first ever bike race as a professional, but you've then went on to win the GC in Oman after a very, very strong week for yourself. Looking back at it now, what are your thoughts about the week?
Wow, it was a cool week. I expected to start the season well, and I was looking to win a race, but not that early. I felt, it was just like a perfect way to start the year. I think it was like the first time I think I've ever done a bike race, and I felt like during the race that I had a feeling that I was the strongest guy, which is a pretty cool feeling. It's a feeling that I'd love to have every race.
So the staging, I don't know how they would pronounce it, but I'm going to say Kwarat, where Harada won. I think you were fourth, but that finish didn't really suit you as much. After that finishing fourth, did you still have the confidence for the next hill stage to think, yeah, I'm going to be in with a shout of winning this one?
Yeah, for sure. I think that day was just like such an easy day before and so explosive in the end that it was just kind of almost a pure sprint with the short climb before. So I felt like the next day was like double the climb was double the length or something. So I felt like it was going to be a lot different. And that day, fourth for me, even on a finish like that, I felt was pretty good. So I think, it gave me, I had a lot of confidence the next day.
And the team did a particularly good job as well. All through the week, they were very, very strong. It must have been nice to be able to finish off the hard work.
Yeah, for sure. No, the team did a good job. Super good job. I was impressed with everyone. I felt like Abner really stepped up this race too. He's had been, slowly improving, but to just be like, at the front and like literally leading me out on climbs is pretty. Yeah, it's a big step, I think. And I think it was a good race for him. So no, I felt like the whole team did a super good job.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned him. He was one who really stepped up. I know the whole team did their job, but it's Gonzalez, isn't it? That's his surname. He was super, super strong. Verona too, and then how about the Green Mountain? Just how painful was the Green Mountain for you?
Oh, that's a horrendous climb. It really is. My God, it was like I was going up and I was just thinking like, is there a climb in the world that's worse than this? Like it was like 35 degrees, 6 lanes wide. I felt like it wasn't 6 lanes wide, but I think it was like 4 lanes wide. So just this huge highway climb, and so you just feel like it was like 10% average. So there were 2 flat sections with the 10% average. So like when you're climbing, it was like 12-14%, and when it's that wide, it's like you don't even feel like you're moving, and you're like completely maxed out as far as power, but you just feel like you're crawling up this thing. Yeah, it was it was a climb that it was all mental, I think, but no, it was good in the end. Thankfully it was just watts per kilo and it was just good legs, so didn't have to deal with any tactics or any attacks or anything. It was just perfect.
And then great to see afterwards on Twitter, you did like 32.621 watts per kilo for 3 hours, 40 minutes. That must have been pleasing for you.
That was not. It was nice to find out that your power meter is so low. It's like it's always good. I can go back and look at all those efforts I did in training and think, oh, those must have all been 7 a kilo, I guess.
Okay, let's take a little look. Let me just share my screen. We'll get Vero Viewer up. And we will look at the delight that is the Omloop. Now, as a professional, when you open up this page and you see the lovely little red band across the top indicating crosswind, you look at the wind speed all day, which is above 20 kilometers per hour. You see the temperature, which doesn't get above really 3 degrees. What are your initial thoughts?
Oh, it'll be a great day on the bike. In the end, the more of these little like factors there are, the more it's just it'll just be a race from start to finish, which I think I like personally. It's like you don't have to just sit there all day and think about the final. Like it can kick off at any moment. So yeah,
So last time you were,
I like to listen.
sorry, last time you were here was, it was, in fact, the only time you were here was 2020. It was your debut. You ended up in the breakaway. It was a similar horrible type day. It was kind of a bit rainy and it was windy. The breakaway didn't actually last too long because the bunch split and came across to you. You eventually was a DNF. What do you remember? Can you take anything from that day in terms of learning for this race?
Yeah, I actually do remember some things. It was, well, the first thing was I just remember like being so scared before the start that I was like, it's either breakaway or bust for me. Like it was either get in the break or just don't even make it to the first feed zone. It was like I was just so scared to even ride. I think that day we started and it was raining already on the start line and the wind was super, super high. So it was like, wow, I just knew it was gonna be a shock. But being in the break, I think helped a lot. Like you could just that first like hour of where all the stress is, we kind of escaped and it was nice. And then eventually we got caught and we got caught by like a pretty select group, but we got caught and then it came back to like the whole group, the whole race came back together and then it all kicked off again. I think once we got into like this lumpier section. And then yeah, I remember actually fighting all the way to the finish. And with literally 3K to go, I'm in a group with like 40 guys and they time cut us at 3K to go. We were within the finishing barriers, you know, of like it was just like, come on, you can't just let us roll across the line. It was
It's a harsh sport, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Right, first 100K. So it lacks climbs, it lacks cobbles. It's a kind of bedding in process. As you mentioned already, the cold, the wind, we can see lots of crosswind in the opening 100K, but then we have a section of headwind as we go back north. The win and move can go at any point, but statistically it will tell us it is very unlikely to go in that first 100K. I assume your strategy this time round will be slightly different to 2020.
I assume too. I won't know until I get there, but yeah. I think I'll wait a little bit.
And then we've got potentially the real kind of section. So the bit I'm about to show now, as you head south, and now we're going west, and we start to pick up a beautiful crosswind as you head back west. Basically, at any point, I think most people would think that it would go anywhere here. Now, having watched this race quite a few times, what I would say is that if I focus in on my favourite bit, which would be the run down south towards Molenberg. So you've gone headwind all the way up this section. Then we've got an exposed crosswind section as we go east, wind coming from the left-hand side. Massive rush for this corner.
Yeah.
Take the corner, and then it's a tailwind, full gas, all the way to the Molenberg. I mean, if I was going to predict where it might go, I think this is the bit. And then, of course, you've climbed here before, but we've got the entrance to the Molenberg, which is not up that person's driveway, but it's just a little bit on here. It's just as wide. There's this bit here. This is the entrance to the Molenberg. It was actually removed from last year's edition, which wasn't great for me. They replaced it with some narrow kind of road sections, but it wasn't great. Entrance to the Molenberg is this. This is, we've seen in the past riders illegally chop the corner. It wasn't barriered a few years ago and somebody did that. I think it was a bingo rider. It was very naughty. But basically, the full peloton have to get through that size gap onto the cobbles, onto the 8% of the Molenberg. And this, for me, is where it's going to split, not only because the Molenberg is quite a tough climb, but when you get to the top, you turn right, and this is what you're faced with. Does this ring any bells for you?
You know what's funny? I'm sitting here looking at this, and I'm like, I don't even remember doing that club. I believe you if you told me it was in there, but I don't even remember doing this club. it's also like you could probably pick out any of these little climbs and have a similar description. But no, that seems logical. I believe you with this because it's like it's at that point like when you're entering the last hour of racing, and yeah, when you have that headwind section, I mean, it could go there. It could go on any of
It
these
can go
things.
anywhere, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember if it was in the 2020 edition. The other really good news for those who want to split it at that point is that it's mainly a tailwind or a cross tailwind all the way into Gerasbergen, and
Gotcha,
we're talking kind of 23 kilometers per hour with
Strong,
gusts
yeah.
of whatever it might be. Also in this section, if you want to look at the kind of what most would call the climbers climb, is the Berendries. So Berendries comes in here, which is just about 30k to go, and this is where either a strong group forms and goes away, or the front group will kind of whittle down a little bit. It's where every year you always see Tige Benoot on the attack. This is his climb.
Okay.
He loves it.
This climb I remember.
And I think it's the only point where climbers actually have a bit of an advantage over the punchers, but obviously not pure climbers. It's not terribly long, but it is very, very steep.
Yeah.
But I would think that's probably a good climb for you.
For sure. That looks
given
great.
current form.
I remember suffering. I think we've done that in the U23. I did like U23 Flanders, and I think we've done that climb a few times. It's what's funny is the road climbs in these races a lot of times hurt a lot more than the cobble climbs, and I think it's because the cobble climbs you're prepared for mentally to like really suffer, but on the road climbs you kind of roll into them with speed, and it's not the same entrance, and then you end up suffering a lot more. And a lot of things happen on the road climbs. So this climb's called the Molenberg.
This is the Berendries.
Oh, Berendries. Okay.
The previous one was a Molenberg, the cobble climb.
Okay.
This is last year we had Benoot attack. He took Van Aert with him, and the only riders who could follow were Pidcock and Narvaez, I think, from Ineos. And then once just about over the top, I think it was Colbrelli who managed to get across to them. That move didn't go on to the finish, but every year it always seems to be a very important part of the race. And then, as I've mentioned, once over the top, it's a nice tailwind all the way down into Gerasbergen. So, if you're looking at where the race could potentially split, it could potentially split at any point. But for me, you're looking from the Molenberg to the Berendries in that section of what must be only about 10 kilometres. For me, that's where the main moves of the day could potentially go. It could go before that, could go after that. Then we get down to the Muur. Not a climb you've done very often. I was looking through your records. You don't seem to have raced in Belgium an awful lot.
No, but I have done the Muur in 2 races before. Well, I did it in Omloop when I did it as a pro, as a Neo, and then I also did it in U23 Flanders. But to me, the Muur was always complicated because of the run-in, but I don't know if it's the same run-in as we had in U23, where it's kind of downhill on a big road into the town. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So you pick up this downhill right into the little town, and then as you come through it, normally, I don't know if for the under 23s if it was there, but you hit the cobbles, and then as you turn left, there's usually like a fun fair or something on this kind of corner, and then you have this
distinctly.
You've got this horrible drag up into the town, which is where the finish is for the Bink Bank Tour. But then you go further on, and then you approach the
really
nasty, the proper nasty. I mean, here it's only saying, well, now it's saying 8%, but on these cobbles, I would imagine it feels a hell of a lot worse. And then you're just about 10%. To enter the forest kind of area, and then up you go. There is a little bit of footage in terms of Google Earth on this part, but it's a climb that everybody knows incredibly well. Weirdly, in recent years, it's not as selective. The top riders seem to be kind of closer together. In years gone past, I feel like Gilbert would go up there maybe 10 seconds faster than everybody else. I don't know if it's because previously in the race has been a little bit easier, so everybody's fresher. But I think most cycling fans would enjoy seeing the Moor as being the kind of centerpiece of the action.
Agreed. Yeah, it's iconic.
And then obviously we've got.
And then what, we descend down and then we do that kind of like forested cobbled climb, right?
Yeah, so then descend down, fast descent onto the main road. Normally, if there's gaps of 10 seconds, they come back pretty easy. It's going to be crosswind at this section, and then you start the climb of the Bosberg, which it looks nothing. I think officially it's about 1 kilometre at 6%, but it's this horrible Belgian tarmac road to lead in, which is, I would imagine it's like dead legs on it. This is where Wout van Aert actually attacked last year. He attacked before the cobbles, he attacked on this section, got a gap, and nobody saw him again. And then you've got the cobbles, and this is where it starts to kick up. The local riders know which side is the slightly easiest side. But as you know, the Belgians,
that matters.
The locals, the Belgians, they know the positions to be in. I mean, you can see there it's 10%, it's 9%. It's one of those ones on the TV. The TV camera points down the other side, so you can actually see usually 2 groups, 3 groups. The gap looks like nothing, but it's it's about a 30 seconds, 40-second gap, and then you get up over the top. And I think what a lot of people might focus on is the run for home, because the run for home is going to be a strong headwind, but it's only 11k. So if it had been an easy race where a couple of riders are off the front, then the peloton can bring 30 seconds, 40 seconds back quite easy in this section. But looking at what the map tells us, it's going to be a full gas race all day. So for me, the fact it's a headwind in the final 10k doesn't actually matter. I think the winning group will be gone.
Yeah, it might even help a solo rider with a headwind, because once you have a group that's super dead behind and you guys are taking half poles, a headwind usually helps. So interesting.
So that's your crack course on how to get round the Omloop.
Well noted. This is I mean, look, I don't know if I have to pay you after this for this information, but this is going to be great.
Well,
I think
if you
Chente is our director. Chente is our director here, so I'm nothing against Chente. He knows what he's doing. He's a big Cobble Classics guy, but he's not Belgian, so it's going to be, we're going to need that local knowledge.
And also potentially following the right type of rider. And it's easy for the armchair fan to say, but not wasting energy in the opening 100k and maybe taking that risk of, if the winning move goes and it goes and you're not in it, and just gambling on that kind of crucial sort of section that we've highlighted and wait until that point. I mean, favourites for this race, Arnaud Delis is riding, which was added to his programme after a very successful first kind of 4, 5, 6 weeks where he's winning lots of races. Christophe Laporte, Tom Pidcock, that type of rider. Jumbo-Visma, let's be honest, they've got like Tige, they've got Tratnik, they've got Laporte, so they've got 3 very strong cars.
Is Wout racing?
No, Wout's not racing. Wout is missing this race.
Okay.
And what normally happens is they were still at altitude, I think, yesterday or the day before. So they were still up in Tenerife, and then they come back in straight to this race.
Gotcha.
And the Jumbo boys always seem to go really well straight after altitude camp.
Is it this race, David, or Kern, where in those first 100k there's the cobble sector that's kind of a downhill to uphill, pretty narrow sector? I remember when I was in the breakaway. I think it was this
pretty
race.
sure it's Well, you've got the Hag Hook, which has done a couple of times, which has got the downhill section back up, uphill, and then you go through like a housing estate.
Yep, I think that's it. Yeah.
So the Hag Hook is in this throughout the race. I think it's done either 2 times. I think it's possibly 3 times.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But that's in previous times. That's been a potential kind of point. I think. Oh, now you're testing my memory, but way back when Stannard won against the 3 quick step riders, it went on the Hag Hook.
Wow.
The important, but in recent years, it's not been as important a point of the race. They've saved it up for other kind of parts. Now, in terms of your goal, as we've mentioned, you've not raced a lot in Belgium. What would your own sort of personal ambition be for a race like this?
I think I have a pretty free card from the team, so I think I would like to just kind of get stuck into Belgium without much expectation. I think the best way to race it would just be, like you said, try to pick a guy. I don't know who yet, but try to pick a guy and try to be in whatever splits that he's in, and then towards the end follow like an earlier move, if that happens. I think for me it'll just be about learning what Belgium is like and learning all the names of these climbs and how it kind of flows. But I think we have Cortina for if it comes back in a group in a bunch kick, but other than that I would just be looking for a move between like that part we highlighted, or even before that if something goes from 60 to 30k to go in there, just be really focused and at the front, as everyone would like to be. But I think that's what I'll try to do, just look for some sort of chance to get up the road.
And what we've seen in the
if not to win the race, just for practice and a good day out.
What we've seen in the past, if the race is still together come the Molenberg, then that downhill section into the foot of the climb is it's incredibly fast. I remember watching guys like Alaphilippe there before, who seems to be at the back of the bunch, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's at the front. He's in the right place at the right time. These guys just have it's almost like an art form of being in the right place. But normally speaking, if you're not in the first 10 wheels coming here, it's game over. Unless it all comes back together. You're just kind of praying that something happens. Now you're also going to ride Kurna the following day, which is an interesting type of race. I think let's just take a little peek at Kurna while we're here. It'd be rude not to.
You can't help yourself, huh?
I can't help myself. We could be here all night. We could look at all the Paris stages as well. But you've got things to do. So Kurna the next day, it's even colder. Nice and sunny.
It's really cold.
And we're talking, a consistent sort of 20 to 25 kilometre per hour wind. For those that don't know Kurna, the first sort of half of the race is pretty easy and it's headwind all the way, so nothing happens. And then we kind of turn and we head back towards home, and then we pick up a nice, lovely tailwind. We've got exposed sections, we've got the Quarmont, but crucially the last sort of crucial section, you're talking about 50k from home, and then it's just the usual chase of front group versus peloton, and sometimes peloton wins and sometimes a solo rider can stay away in the lap circuit if they are ridiculously strong, like a Casper Asgreen or somebody similar.
I think he won it the year that I did it. Someone solo, I think, won, if I remember correctly. But how many laps do we do at the end? Do you know?
I think they've changed it in previous years. I think they changed it. I think they reduced it one less lap. We're talking one. Yeah, just kind of almost one full lap. So not as many laps as previous years. But the weird thing is, in this part of the world, a 5-second gap actually is more like about a 30-second gap. It just seems ridiculously hard to bring it back together. It would normally be a sprinter type winner. And I suppose
For sure.
that's, if you're looking at yourself, and obviously I asked you about your own kind of hopes for this race, to win either race when you don't have a very, very good sprint is probably quite hard.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All the guys who I've mentioned as favourites, you know, Billy, Laporte, Pidcock, they all sprint.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think these races will be small group or bunch kick, unless there's someone super flying that can go solo. But
yeah,
no, I think my personal ambitions will just be to get through them and learn a bit about Belgium, have some good stimulus from racing, and get to Paris-Nice without crashing.
And Paris-Nice is not that far away. I mean, we're talking, what, 2 weeks?
The weekend after, yeah, it starts the Sunday after Kern, so 1 week from Kern. Yeah.
And you're looking forward to seeing Tadej Pogacar up close again?
Sure, I sure am. It'll be great. It'll be like the Tour. I think we'll have Vingegaard, Pogacar, yeah. It'll be a hard Paris-Nice this year, I think. And he's not doing Strada anymore, so yeah, it'll be even harder.
He's taking it serious.
Yeah, exactly.
And he seems to have.
If he wasn't taking it serious in Andalusia and he's taking this serious, I don't really. Yeah, I'm scared. But
he seems okay. I mean, I heard his coach say he's still quite far away from top shape. Obviously, it's only February, which is either really exciting if you're a fan or really worrying if you're a competitor.
Sure. Yeah. It's no, I think it's cool to see. I think it's good for the sport. He's an animal.
He certainly is. Right, Matteo, well, thank you very much for giving up your time tonight. I hope Saturday and Sunday goes well. You now know exactly where to be and when to be there.
I really do. Molenberg and
Molenberg, Berenjres.
Yep, Berenjres. Molenberg and Berenjres. I learned 2 new climb names. This is very informative.
Follow
I would have had to read your preview, but now I don't even have to. So.
I like to try and save something different for that. You know, it's
yeah.
I need the click for that as well.
I'll give you a click. Don't worry.
Good lads. Right, Matteo. Well, all the best and good luck for Saturday.
Thank you very much.